Hey, I'm on here for a little bit of time. Glad to come on here. And some people will be clocking in about another minute or two. Today is Tuesday, October the 2nd, 2018. And I'm Brother Francis E. Revels-Bey here at my Circle Grace One channel on YouTube. So, I'm hoping to share some things with you today. And just before I do that, I want to open up with a universal decree through divine power and by divine grace. May all of you who have this golden opportunity to listen live or in the replay format, may you get a lot of information, a lot of wellness vibrations from it. May you receive some insight of your own from a chair that keeps going down. Also, may you be blessed in your own way so that greater enlightenment can flow to you in this lifetime. Know that you're beloved by the community of light. Know that you are being loved by your higher self, which is your soul aspect, your God aspect, goddess aspect of yourself. May you know and realize that you are appreciated. I would like to say that I appreciate who you are allowing yourself to be at this time. This is a channel message and a direct message from myself to you. So shall it is, so it shall be. May you prosper. May you have longevity in everything that you touch. May you be abundant. But most of all, may you be at peace with yourself and the world. And may you also be blessed through unconditional love, compassion, understanding, and divine grace. And so shall it is. So it shall be, I should say. All right. So this is Circle Grace One. I founded on July 2nd, 1999 AD under the aegis and the anointing of the angel of grace through divine providence. It's pretty much like my own spiritual and metaphysical ministry. It has its own institute, Metaphysical and Spiritual Institute, that came into being on February the 7th, 2009, called the Circle of Divine Grace and Remembrance. And I always like to say that the Circle of Grace One is the Circle of Divine Grace and Remembrance, because I'm just here to share with you ideas and thoughts and feelings and creative pathwork meditations of my own that are original, that can help you move upward in your life, that will give you the spark that you need so that you could step forward. Uh, People always ask me, what do you do for a living? And I said, well, I've been on this path for 44 years. And so it is a way of life for me. One of the meanings for religion is a way of life. So it's a way of life, whether someone pays me or not for my time. It's a way of life to be truly present, to help other people uh, become more enlivened and more in the state of being, in the state of their highest calling for themselves. One of the things people often ask me about is, well, how did you get to be where you are? And I always say that I'm a master in the making myself. We are always born as a master. I think I saw a quote the other day, and I think it was from Rumi, who said that you were born a Buddha. You were born enlightened. You just decided to come into this world through other souls that you call your parents to be able to express life here in this particular matrix. So all of us are expressing on some level life. We're here to help others as well as each other. And that's so much important to us right now. I was thinking the other day, uh, delving into some information through one of my guides, and many people share this guide. He's Akhenaten, and um, one of the things I received in a deep meditation and another time in a dream is that we have this part of ourselves that's a miscreated thought, a miscreation from ourselves. And that miscreation that he calls a miscreation is the ego. Now, many of us are well familiar with that ego. And the ego is the part that wants to shine. That's the part of you that wants to shine no matter what. That's the part of you that wants to act out no matter what. That's the part of you that wants to be boastful no matter what. That's the part of you that doesn't want anything to do with humility, doesn't want anything to do with tempering yourself enough to realize that you don't know everything. And then when you get to that point and you understand that you don't have all the answers, you're not always you're successful, but you're not always successful in the way that you want to be, where you can poke your chest out and say, "Look at me, look at me, look at me." So I often remind myself, and one of my greatest spiritual teachers was my late mother, who I refer to as Mother Grace. Her first name, given name, was Grace. And she used to say, never let, and this is the way she would say, I'm going to clean it up a little bit, never let your rear end precede you. And that's another way of saying never becoming an arse. Never be a jackarse, okay? Because you don't know everything, and you do always at different stages of your life. You always different plateaus, whether you're going up or going down, or up and down. You're always in your heart need someone to help pull you up or pull you out of a pit. So we all have to begin to realize that we do need help at different levels. And we all have to realize that it is okay, it is all right to ask for assistance. But you know that many times we have a safety net underneath ourselves. And sometimes when you have that safety net underneath yourself, you find it very difficult to let go of it, because you feel like you need to have it so that if you should fall, you can bounce back up. Well, your life is not like a cartoon. It's not like watching the Road Runner and Wile Coyote. With a Wile Coyote, he falls off the cliff and he definitely hits the earth hard, where the Roadrunner falls off and rebounds. So you have your moments when you fall completely. You have your moments when that fall is painful. You have your moments when you least expect it. And so it is a good reminder for all of us that we shouldn't let that ego take over, because where would that ego be when the most important people in your life are no longer in your life? Will your ego be hanging out then? Will your ego be shouting for assistance then? Will your ego reach out for assistance? Many people cover their emotional pain because they want to be looked at as Superman, Superwoman. That they take the bullets of hard life and they're okay. Well, the reality is some of those bullets come and they're painful. They do knock you down for a long period of time, but at some point, you have to bring yourself together. You have to admit you don't know everything. You have to extend that hand, say, I need help. Because many people don't. Many people go throughout life living in deep, deep pain, deep darkness. And that darkness is loaded with shame, and is loaded with guilt, is loaded with fear, is loaded with doubt, It's overflowing with illusions about life and themselves. And so, this is one aspect of ourselves that we have to consciously work on because it's very, very important. So, that's one of the things I want to mention because many of us that are in this metaphysical spiritual field are not um, always talking about some of the hurdles that they have to go through or hurdles that they have overcome. And often people think that, wow, we're in the woo woo state and we got it like that 24/7. But we're just like you. We learn just like you that your ordinary life that you live that's appears to be ordinary is actually when you can review your life, hopefully not at the end when you're ready to go, leave your body permanently for that moment. You want to know that in the midst of what you're going through, that your life is quite extraordinary. It is quite unique. And that at some point you do find yourself walking up the ladder again, coming out of the doldrums of pain and anxiety and worry and stress and more pain, whether that pain is connected to the people who you chose to be in agreement with, to be your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your aunts, your uncles, your grandparents, your neighbors, your sweethearts, your friends, your enemies, quote enemies. So, we have to um, become more grounded as spiritual and metaphysical people and look at these hurdles that we have and not spend a great deal of time in a state of accusation. Also, don't spend a great deal of time feeling you have to compete with the next person. There's a lot of people that make money in this field, you know, and then you might say, and I know I used to say it, how come it's not my turn? Am I still making a lot of money? No, but my riches come in different ways because I'm vibrating off of grace. And when I say my riches are that which can keep me in a state of humility, be happy, be able to expand, but stay in a place of humility because that's important. If you're not in a state of humility as you're going through your successes, when you hit that brick wall and you slide down on the other side and you discover that you're not happy with who you are, because there are many people sometimes who are wearing a mask. They look happy, they look successful, but some part of them isn't. Or someone may say to you, I want to help you get where you have to go, and then sometimes you may not get there, or some reason the person can't help you, can't meet you at that roadway to give you that boost. But you have to remember the tone of their voice. Something in the tone of their voice may have reached out to you and helped you. So you want to pay attention to what you are receiving, what you are hearing, because sometimes you don't need the physical action of the person helping you. Sometimes that help just comes through the sweetness, through the tone of their voice, or what appears to be um, a different time. Yes, hello, how are you, unconquerable presence? Uh, so there are many parts and many aspects of life where you're having an up and a down, or it's like a domino effect where like all the dominoes are lined up and all the hurdles are falling down, or maybe the other way around, all the dominoes are standing up. You go, oh, I got this maze I've got to work through. So one of the things I want to share in this brief moment with you, just even talking about that and use myself as an example, sometimes if I found myself complaining, why not me? But then over the months and years, and I looked like, wow, I didn't have money to pay my rent. I didn't have money to do this. But somewhere down the line, I learned how to zip this, be silent, and go within and not be really agitated, but letting go of any doubt or fear. And then realizing that the whole time the universe is helping me because it's not removing everyone out of my life, it's just removing the people who are not supposed to be assisting me, causing them to do something else so that, but their chi, I could feel their chi going out to me to say, I'll hold this space for you. So sometimes we just need someone to hold space, someone to listen, and just know that you already know that person is going through something. So you can't lean on them. What you need to know is just know that they are there. And knowing just that, knowing just the soul is present is enough chi for itself to move things. Have you ever like had a slow period in your life and you happen to go away, be able to get out of town and go away, be it out of state or just out of the little area where you live. And that time that you're out of that environment, realize that something else is going on for you behind the scenes. And this is where the power of this, what I call the power of the spirit of divine grace, enters our life. Because grace means, is a sense, ease. It's not, people say, well, I'm blessed and highly favored, and that's grace. No, that's not what grace is. Grace is when you haven't got a clue how something is going to turn out for you in the end. Grace is something that's working behind the scenes. The angel of grace, the angels of grace, the spirit of grace itself, which is just another aspect of the divine working on your behalf that's inside of you. That is somehow pulling the cords, turning up the switches. You're welcome. Turning up the switches, turning on the switches. Yeah, you could be in a room that's bright, but your divine self says, no, it's too dark in here. We're going to open up the shades and let the light come in. If you have those moments where you just didn't want to see the world and you pull back the shades and the light is so bright, it's like, oh man, now I can't see. Well, see is you didn't have to see with your physical eyes. Did you see with your inner eye? So I had to learn how to zip this. I had to learn how to stop complaining or stop being upset and realize this is happening because I need to have some weights taken away. So here you are on this journey outside of yourself. And the blessing is the spirit of you, the soul of you, the God and goddess, any of you, spank your hands to take your hands off the steering wheel of your life. Let me work it out for you. And you just feel, you just listen, and you get clear. See, there's two things. If you're a person that's ever worked with the tarot cards, you'll find out that the most difficult suits, the most difficult suit is the swords. The swords represent the mind, the element of air. Some schools they say it's fire. No, it's really air. It's mind. It's mental. And all the other cards, and I'm talking about the major, the minor arcana cards, because the tarot deck has what, four suits, right? It has four suits, and then it has four court cards. Okay, it's got pages, knights, okay, which is sort of like a jack in a regular deck of cards, queen, and a king. Okay, and then it has the numbers ace, which is 1 through 10. So that what? That gives you 14 cards per suit. But what you learn in the tarot cards is if you look at the ones that represent the chalice or the cups or the vessels, which is the element of water, you will see the card shift at the fifth degree, the fifth level, right? So if you've got, like, let's say if you know the traditional, what they call so-called traditional tarot or classical tarot, which is the Weight Rider deck, and you see this person in a black cloak, right? And what you see them do is they're looking down on three cups that are spilt, but behind them there are two other cups standing. And what that card represents, they have to change the way they feel. Don't worry about the spilt milk. There's still two other opportunities that will get them to their destination. But if you look at the swords, the Ace of Swords is the prettiest card. Is the angel coming to assist you to make your mind clearer. You can get adamant about something. You can have peace of mind. And right after that, Ace of Swords is what? Person standing like this, seated on the throne with water rustling in the background. It's twilight. They got the arms crossed, and one sword can help them, or they have sword over here to help them. Or you might look at it as they have one that might be the right thought and one might be the wrong thought. And then what happens? It just doesn't balance out. Third level is the Three of Swords. If you look at the classical tarot deck, the Three of Swords is what? Raining gray clouds in the sky, bright red heart with the swords that were like this, with the points going up, and other swords cross down through the heart, and one right through the middle. That's the person themselves. But then it rests out. It rests and balances at the Four of Swords, which means, okay, what you see is this person in a sanctuary with their armor on, and they're in a state of peace of mind where it's like a prayer or meditation going within. And what happens is you now see that sword that went through them. They are that sword at rest. They're not fighting about anything. But yet, in the stained glass are three swords. So now it's them and three swords are three ways in which they could go with something. That's the only time it's peaceful. In the swords, the tarot, the suit, the air. Because right after that, Four of Swords, it's back to total activity. See people walking away in the background, drabby scene. They place their swords down, they're walking away. The other person is doing what? Picking up the swords, having one sword in their hand, and they're trying to pick up more swords. It's just restlessness. It's change, but means that the person can do it. Then they have peace of mind, maybe with the Six of Swords. Seven of Swords, they're back to thinking. Eight, it gets desolate. Nine is total lamentation, worry, anxiety. 10, it's the end. Why am I stating all of this? These are just different examples of things that we go through. So there's sometimes you got to find your tribe. People say, where's my tribe? Where's my soul family? They are around you. They might be in the same city across town, but eventually you find them. They might, you may have never met them before, but you see them on Facebook. You found them through social media, Instagram, you name it, you found them. You do have help. Help does come to us. We just have to kind of open our eyes so that we could see. How many of you have sometimes a sibling who's kind of there but not there? We all may have had those. Some there are some people in their families that they chose where the siblings that they have are totally against them, and they're definitely the one who's standing out. They're victimized by the mom, the dad, and the siblings. But if that one of you have that experience, stay in touch with your heart, how it makes you feel. Because through your heart, you're going to ascend and eventually transcend. Yeah, so what you might want to consider is, and from old school Southern practice, grandma and granddad would say, you got to pray to the Lord. You got to pray to the Lord of you on the inside, because each one of us is carrying that divine aspect, that divine source, a part of it. Each one of us is an element in the universe. Each one of us is an angelic form of the universe. Each one of us is a galactic source of the universe. Each one of us has all the different elements. We are having a microcosmic life reflecting the macrocosmic life. So what we have going on inside ourselves is a mini version of what's happening outside ourselves. So I often say, whether you're a spiritual colleague or not, or you're a student or a client or not, or someone that I'm mentoring, when you find that, hey, you look like you done ran out of your resources, not really. See, the word resource is what? It's the source that repeats itself, meaning it has a cycle that never ends. And then the re part means, okay, that's the cycle that can be repetitive, but re also means elevated. So when you're dealing with certain resources, see if the resources are coming back in alignment with themselves and still going up. Like, you want to capture the overflow. And sometimes, since people say, well, you must speak it into existence, you must speak it because the one that you are praying to is really you. You're that divine aspect that you are praying to speak deeply into yourself and say, can I do this? Or I often find myself saying, I have gone through this before. And I remember, even if I'm not, don't have an inkling, but I know I've gone through it. And what you begin to see these reflective images, some of it parallel lives, some of it so called past lives, and you see how you got through it. So you begin to remember that you were successful, and you begin to remember, I'm at that same point now that I was in another stream of consciousness, another life stream of energy. And I did navigate it. I did make it through. So I often tell people, when you're going through a difficulty, it's one of the moments when you find yourself kicking a can down the street, kicking a can, like bam, bam, like, okay, I can't do this by myself. Bam, bam. When am I going to get some help? Bam, bam. When is the universe going to help me? And then you find out you are the universe, and that you're another side of the universe, and that whoever you're praying to, you have the power to pray to that angelic force. Sometimes it's your crying moment, a crying prayer, where the prayer is so intense from the inside to the outside that you actually have a breakthrough. You could feel it. Have you ever had those moments when you just can't shed another tear? And you go, okay, there's something that I'm not doing. It's not so much something that you're not doing, it's more like you're not trusting. And you find out eventually that it's okay to shed a tear, and many tears. It is okay to be angry. It is okay to walk away from something, but only for a moment. It is okay for you to take a step back and see who's around you and realize they can't help me because they're not even helping themselves. They want to wear their mask. I don't have my mask on anymore. So you feel it. You feel the rawness of it. That kind of rawness that you can feel is when you're in a state of grief circles, when someone has passed on, transitioned, and you got to deal with that pain. Or you may come from a highly dysfunctional family, but you're sitting in a group setting with other people who have an equally or even stronger or higher dysfunctional family than you have. And when you come out of them sessions, you feel like worn out. Your heart is worn out, your mind is worn out. And so you learn that all this stuff has to come together. Wow. That's awesome. And see, that's it. You need to. We have to. People say prayer is not important. No, it is. If you can find somebody where you could pray, because pray means communication, and a prayer is the ultimate communication. When you could have at least one person that can pray with you, whether you pray on the phone or in person or through a letter or just telepathically, you can feel each other, then what happens is you are in a state of creation. Why? Because you both got rid of, or you both had tempered down the miscreation. The miscreation was the ego. You both were able to push the ego aside and come together as one on accord. Accord means in agreement that you're going to pull something together and focus on something together or someone together. That good presence was the energy that you two created. You created enough energy where the angel of that, the angle of your force of your prayer brought forth an angel to hear you, receive your prayer, got the two of you together, and now you created this cone of energy that reached out. Then you saw and received the message. And because you two had this energy so strong, it got through for her to have, like you said, yeah, that's amazing. Amazing, you mean you went through the maze. Both of you went through the maze together. And because the two of you came together, that person's mother caught the fallout of your prayer. The fallout is the energy that rolls off of your prayer. Your prayer became a living energy. Why? Because you're energetic, your friend is energetic. You both created a very energetic energy field that was expanding, and it took in the fact of the mother, and the mother receiving from her child and you, which is pure, unadulterated, not being watered down, pure unconditional love, what we call divine love. We call also compassion. Passion brought together, positive particles of light coming together, spoken or raised up and presented. And then hearing about her mother, diagnosed with it. But hey, things changed. Why? Because you both created this field of energy. You both were holding space for whoever it was, which means you, and in that sense, she was able to disconnect emotionally just enough for her to receive who that energy was kicked in for. You were being supportive with her and holding space with her, and it made it easier for the mother to receive. Yeah, it came to that level where the God in you, the goddess energy of you, the God energy of you, because we both have God and goddess energy. Yin is goddess, yang energy is God energy. Two of you together made four. You see, like a base, and loud spirit being the tip of the pyramid to come on down and be the fire in the middle. That's pyramid, right? Pyr, Pyr, amid, fire in the mist. And that was enough to hold space. And here the mother being attached to the other being of light, being your friend, to receive. Now, some people say, well, what if all of that took place and it still didn't happen? You weren't supposed to be the savior, but what you did was you held space anyway. Because now, if the soul was supposed to leave permanently out of this particular energy stream, life stream, that soul was able to capture some of that energy and take with it. So actually, the if it was supposed to happen where it was supposed to get worse and it wasn't supposed to work out, then you still did what you were required to do or asked to do. You still released compassionate, unconditional love. Grace became divine grace and ease for that being to either get better or transcend. Still blessed by the operation of you two, and you two still get blessed because there's always a reciprocal energy that comes from that that takes care of you on a completely different level. This is why I call my ministry Circle of Grace One, because one was the first grace, being my own mother, whose given name was Grace. The second grace is the angel grace. In between, well, actually, is the principle of grace, which became a virtue because my mother, that's all she taught. She indirectly was teaching me the meaning of her name. And she always used to say, you got to stop worrying. Don't worry about what other people say about what you're doing. She says, as she would say, the Southern style out of Georgia, so God is going to take care of you. The universe is going to the angels going to take care of you, and I have the power to help you from the other side. So don't even worry about it. I would go like, how's that going to happen? But it happened. My own mother gave me a prophetic reading when I was about, 27 years of age, 2 years before she passed. She gave me that reading in 1979 and told me, yeah, you're going to go through all of this, all of this. And here we are living in Hempstead, Long Island, New York. And she says, this ain't even your home. This is not your spiritual home. And I'm saying, well, where is it then? She said, you'll know, but this ain't your home. Nothing on the East Coast is your home either. So where that's going to be? And here we watching Warner Brothers cartoons. And the first thing she says out of her mouth is, your real home, yeah, the house that caught on fire. She told me all of that before it happened. And all those different people that I interacted with, the woman who called me Bishop, and I didn't even know what she was talking about. Why you want to call me Bishop? That was Sister Lewis. Sister Lewis was one of her closest spiritualist friends who reiterated to me that the house was going to catch on fire. She predicted that, told me that 6 months. And I said, my mother told me that in 1979, 2 years before she passed, that there was going to be a house up the block. Because when she told me that, we were in one of her elder sister's houses. And I'll give you, I don't want to say the address, but the address added to 6, but the street was Elizabeth Avenue. The house that caught on fire was 38. That added to 11, my mother's birthday number, up the block. And I was in there renting a room out. It was like a boarding house, renting a room, waiting for my time to just move on. And there I was. The house caught on fire, but I wasn't in the house. Sister Lewis told me that 6 months before it came, but my mother told me that in 1979, and she transitioned. She told me that in July of 1979 or the spring of 1979. And then she had a falling in the house in 1981, around by my birthday, and fell into a coma. And then one of her older sisters was in the same hospital, transitioned around my birthday, and my mother transitioned in May in the same year, 1981. But my mother already told me the fire was going to happen up the block. And I was going like, I'm not going to be staying in no other house. But I didn't know that she knew that. But she gave me a prophetic life reading. And my mother would read me every now and then. I mean, not sit down at the table, read me, but pick up on things about me. I had been out of college 5 years, graduated out of college 5 years, and she told me that. But she told me things while I was in college. I would write her all the time, big thick letters, 20-page letters, front and back, told her 20-page letters, and she would write back, "Baby, just pray." And I was going, "What do you mean by that?" Well, my real home is right where I am now. I'm in the city of Albuquerque, New Mexico. She told me that my spiritual home, my real home, is, and she's just, now she said you're going to have your difficulties, but that's your true home because you vibrate strongest there. The state is your home, but Albuquerque. And just as she's finished saying that, 5 minutes later, here's the Warner Brothers cartoon with Bugs Bunny popping up out of the making the what is that? The little furrow in the earth in the sand with the cactus that shapes like a arm up like hands up like this in the head, and he says, "Ah." He looks around now. Where he actually is, he's either in Nevada or which is in the state of Arizona. You see, and he's going like, and in Arizona, you find those cactus plants predominantly like that, U shaped with the arms up in the stem. Okay, and he Bugs Bunny says, "Ah, I'll go visit my brother Irving in Albuquerque." That's a joke. People here, when they have their crazy moments, they call Albuquerque Albuquerque. My mother already knew. And when my mother wrote me her eulogy and she told me what she wanted to wear: white stockings, white shoes, a bonnet. But check this out: the color of her dress, like a blazer with a dress. You know what that was? That was a turquoise teal blue. That was her favorite color, teal blue and turquoise. Well, over here in the state of Albuquerque, one of those colors is teal and turquoise. And I found out later that that turquoise shade governs the thymus gland that's right by your heart. And I found out later that the turquoise ray represents the Christ itself. Here was my mother. Yeah, she loved going to church, but my mother was into Rosicrucian studies on the side. My mother was into Astara studies on the side. My mother was reading a lot of metaphysical and spiritual stuff. Always doing that. Yeah. And indirectly see blue is my color. I love blue. Like on this aquafina, that color blue is what I like this lapis, that lapis color. That's the color of blues that I like. I got lapis here, blue like that. I have a hat that's a little lighter than the lapis blue. Then only to find out that, in ancient Kemet and all of those times, same shade of blue. So I began to understand, yeah, that mysterious blue, or as they call, that is called a divine mother ray energy. We're in the state of transcending the new earth vibration. The divine feminine, the divine mother energy is that same blue, blue shade, blue energy. And that blue energy is potent. See, the third eye is an indigo, which is a combination of more of a sky blue, darker shade of blue here, sky blue in the throat chakra, and the crown chakra, which gets the violet flame kind of color, purple. Those two colors come together and you get that bluish purple. That's the indigo, which is a little darker than this, having a little, it's like lapis blue with a shade or tint of purple running through it. And that's concerned or considered to be the energy of the ray, the spiritual ray of the divine mother. In the Tibetan ray colors, that blue represents spiritual teachers. Spiritual teachers having the blue shade. If you notice now, If you're from, let's say, if you're from New York City, police department, they wear this real navy blue, almost looks black on them, but it's a navy blue. That blue shade, that blue is supposed to represent order. Blue is order, part of the divine order. So they're supposed to be representing the order on earth, but they didn't make it. That blue shade is awesome. And so, yeah, this is I've had my ups and downs with various spiritual personalities here who thought I was stealing their clients, but find out in the end, no, I'm not stealing their clients. Clients were supposed to come to me so I can further open them up, further get them to see themselves so that they can do what? So they can move forward in their lives or they can have greater emotional wellness. That's one of the things that the principle of grace, people say they use the word principle, and it's funny. One of my other elder friends that also lived on that block at the time when my mother told me that, she lived up the other end. And her name was Charles Zeta Wicks, Mrs. Wicks. Mrs. Wicks and my was like 10 years or so, 17 years younger than my mom, but she and my mom were like this. My mom was Leo, Mrs. Wicks was Aries. And they used to talk about stuff. And long after my mother had transitioned, and I told Mrs. Wicks, yeah, I got this thing called Circle of Grace One. He said, well, bro, what's the one for? I said, the one is for the first grace in my life. And then I remembered Mrs. Wicks revealing to me, she says, I want to tell you something. And this is after I had one of my spiritual teachers day ceremony events. I used to do them back on Long Island, where my mother would come to me and give me the faces of 3 or 4 people that have to receive these Circle of Grace One awards, like flowers in their life for the things that they teach other people spiritually or metaphysically. Maybe they're healers and that's why they got it. And I remember Mrs. Wicks telling me, have me over for dinner one night. And she told me, she says, bro, she always say, bro, she just called me affectionately, she called me Roundhead. And I said, why you call me Roundhead? Because you got so much stuff going on. You rocking with energy. And Mrs. Wicks, she was into auras and crystals. She could see my aura. And she sat there and she told me, she says, bro, your mother said that after she passed the scene, after she would transition, you were going to, within about a 20-year span, close to it, you were going to start a healing circle. And you were going to create this healing circle. Well, in 1985, and it was on September the 19th, 1985. You see the emblem in there? See the those are twin flame triangles, and then the triangle pointing down. So it's actually a fire triangle pointed up, split in two. That's the twin flames. Okay, which is the spirit. And then the triangle pointing down, as you see, without the bar going through where the X is, the triangle pointing down is the alchemical symbol for water. So the spirit comes in and then brings out the spirit out of the person, and it develops 2 flames, not the higher self and the lower self, but the soul as God. Yes, so. And then if you see it, there's 7 points, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That's the 7 chakras, which become like the 7 pillars. And that was like at the time a Moorish guy, and you don't see what he's actually doing. He's in a state of exaltation. He has a little bag on him. That's supposed to be like his cape, but one hand pointing back. The original design is a horse eating the light out of his hand. There was another design where it was like a globe. He had the globe there, but his hand was open and the horse is eating the sweetness out of his hand. And then the other hand was really like this, holding a staff with a huge crystal on top, radiating the light. So the person in the Circle of Grace One is really the angel of grace, or the grace sharing the principle of grace, gathering it through the crystal in the staff, which is one's life, and allowing the horse or the spirit of the earth to be fed out of its hand. That's just the way it flows. But that's how it appears. And so, yes, my mother was my spiritual teacher that taught me sometimes you got to go through stuff. Sometimes you're going to feel like you losing your shirt, your blouse, your underwear, your shoes, and everything. She said, but sometimes you got to get stripped down. So do me a favor, son. Do yourself a favor. Don't let that miscreation thing called the ego rule you. Because no matter how much money you have, I don't care if you get to be a billionaire, you will never be happy. She said, you'll never be happy. Hmm. Well, it perhaps disappeared for a moment, because the Egyptian deity was there for a moment to represent just a moment for you to remember. The deity is an aspect of yourself. God has infinite aspects. God and Goddess, divine father and divine mother really are one and the same. I'm working on a book right now. I'm working on 3 different manuscripts. One is called Decree and It Shall Be, based on the show I do every Thursday that I've done as far back as 2008 as live video streams. And Decree and It Shall Be is learning how to use the power of your own word, affirmations and decrees to turn events around. Yeah, to turn events around in your own life, because your words do create your life. People say, well, you got to take action. Well, you can take action all day long, but your words still create it. Your words. But you got to make sure it ain't coming from your ego. You see, you got to make sure it's not coming from your ego. This is why I realized there's 2 forms of words. There's manifestation, many fested thoughts, like an infest of thoughts, infestation of ideas. Man is an idea, but the real creation is the mother, materialization, mater, mater, mother, womb. When we use the word man and woman, that's why you see people writing for the last 5 or 6 years or 10 years, they've been writing womb dash man, because man comes out of the womb. See, in the Masonic orders, they know this stuff. Masonic orders, they have those different stations, and one of the stations they have is what? The most worthy matron. Why is that? Matron is mother, the most worthy mother, because the men in there eventually have to learn that the woman is the creator. That's why they say you have a widow and a widower. And when you look at that term, widow or widower, one of those terms means the Mason is mother's son. That's what a Mason is. It's not just a builder. A builder of what? Builder of character. But where did this all coming from? Man carries the seed, but he can't do nothing else. Man can't do anything with the seed in the body. He got to put it somewhere. He has the right woman for him, because there will always be the right woman for him. And she is what? She is the God and Goddess. See, the widow, when you said, well, yeah, she's a widow, right? Because from her, there is no beginning and end. She has no father and no mother. That's what a Mason is. He realizes the woman represents the highest source. She has no mother or no father. Isn't it? Doctors always tell us what? And so when the baby's in the womb for the split second, the baby can be male or female. You don't know. All male children that become male children for a split second at some time in the womb, they look like they're female. The physical male genitalia didn't come forward yet. But if enough of a pull is there, boom, it comes. And now baby is a male baby. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Well, if you're going to join the Masons, find a good organization to join. Most of the Masonic orders, you know what? There's if you have Netflix, I've been watching it. It's a series of episodes, and it's very interesting. But it's from a Masonic order that's in one of the European countries. It might be in England, but you'll see some Asiatic brothers in there, uh, one or two of them in there from India and other places, and but one of the good things about it, they're talking about the different degrees and everything. You should watch it. It's pretty cool. You know, um, in the English version of the Masons, the British London version, you have in the Irish version, you have York Rite and you have Scottish York Rite. Writs. Okay, I pronounce it right, but it's writs. So ritual, Scottish writ orders and English, British writ orders. Okay, and then you got what is called what? Prince Hall Masons. The show is called Freemasons or Freemasonry, and it's on Netflix, so you can look it up. And I've seen a couple of them, and it's pretty interesting. These guys, though, I mean, and see, this is something maybe 20, 30 years ago you would never see. You would never see all of them sitting in the lodge. This one actually shows them sitting some of their meetings in the lodges and so forth, and some of the little things that go on in there. They normally would never have shown that, but it's on Netflix. I just happened to see it last month, toward the end of last month. I was looking for something to watch. And ooh, Freemasonry. Let me see what this is about. And I think these guys are out of Ireland or England, and they're showing them some of the scenes, and they talk about it just a tad. They show a guy coming into the lodge and how he's selected and what he has to say, and so forth. I think the guy's a musician or something, but he always wanted to be a Freemason. But Freemason, there's what they call free and adopted, and that makes a difference. Free and adopted. So there's two kinds of Masons. One is adopted, and the other is free. Usually, that's the one who was born into the order, just passed down and born into the order. So he's already free because he's born in the order of it. Someone in his family already is. He didn't get adopted into it, which means they had to vote him in. But even at that point, they still have to vote the person in, even if the father is a Mason. Doesn't matter what level that he holds. And now there are some fraternal orders that are just dastardly fraternal orders, like the Skull and Crossbones. They're not necessarily very positive. And there are those who have gone on the deep end in these orders and actually learned these rituals, have done all kind of other things. There's some books that are out of print called Fire and Ice. Fire and Ice is a series of books that talks about the negative side, where people have gone deeply into these orders, fraternal orders, and actually work these rituals, actually where they're praying to a satanic god and putting out this energy on each other. In the fire, there is a book that you can get. The author, the guy is from Germany. His name is Franz. He's not around anymore, but his family has his books out. There might be a lot of money to get the books. Okay, but the guy writes the book. He's written 3 books, and these 3 books go in a certain order. He has the Magician. One is based on the tarot card, the Magician. One is based on the High Priestess, and the other one is, I believe, based on the Empress. And But I think they kind of come together in a different way. And one other book is called The True Kabbalah, meaning how to take the letters from A to Z and work them through your body to make certain attributes come forward. How to look at the different planets and the different geni forces every 2 degrees on a planet or astrological sign. It got a whole lot of stuff, but the guy is very positive. Name is Franz, Franz, last name Bardon, Bardon. And he was a stage magician, understood how to do it, but also understood how to call on the forces and make things pop up, but use it like a very positive. And he talks about how a particular order in Germany at that time wanted him to be a member. And he took the crystal ball and he showed the person that was sent to him what was going to happen to the head of the order, which is which is really out of this world, how he was able to see it using the crystal ball as a conveyance. Yes, Franz Bardon. Yeah, the one of the books, uh you could look it up online. Go online and you can Google it. The book, I had a bunch of them. One of them, I don't have the other two, but I have one of them, and one of them is called The True Kabbalah. And Kabbalah, I think, is spelled with a K or a Q. And in that book, he actually shows how to use the letters in the alphabet through the 4 planes, from the Akashic level to the causal, which is the mental level, to the emotional, which is the psychic. Yes, the emotional, and then down to the physical. And he shows how to take the letters of the alphabet and work them out in formulas of one formula, 1 letter formula, 2 letter formula, 3 letter formula, and 4 letter formula. And you can actually take your name, you can actually take your birth given name and write them out through the planes and see how they work. And he explains how they all work. Uh, but if you were to get that book, The True Kabbalah, or it might be called The True Key, Key, The True Key of the Kabbalah. But if you look up Franz Bardon, you'll see the different books that were placed together. One book actually gets you into rituals and things. This book, The True Kabbalah, is cool because it takes you through the A through Z letter and formulas and how to work them and how to bring things into your existence. The other 2 books, I think the one has the Empress on it, and the other one is like the Magician and the High Priestess, but it actually shows you how he doesn't talk about the negative aspects of practicing magic or occult magic. He talks about the positive. He understands both, but he talks about the positive. He puts the positive out there. How the different geni forces, the different designs for them equates different things. He shows you how, in one of the earlier books that he wrote, how knowing where your particular sun sign degree is, and when you locate it, if you know where it is in your natal chart, how to find it within the astrological sign on the wheel. And you find out, let's say, for instance, my birthday is March the 16th. So the sun was 25 degrees. So I could look for the sign of Pisces, 25 degrees, and it shows me the particular geni force, positive geni force, that represents anybody like myself born on that time where the sun hits about 25 degrees into my sign of Pisces. And he'll tell you the name of the entity for that, who's very positive, and what it gives you the ability to do. When you read it, you say, spot on. So he shows you these things, he reveals it, and very, very unique things that he talks about. So it is just so much stuff that's out here, that we all have this ability. So there are people who have studied, Masonic orders, who have become Shriners, you know, and people go, "What's a Shriner?" Well, a Shriner is a person that went all the way through from, because they only tell you in Masonry that you only need the first 3 degrees. Those first 3 degrees is what, an apprentice is the first degree. The second degree is a mark master. That's one who pretends to be a master, marking the master, hitting the marks to become a master. And the third is a master mason. That's all they really need. Now, in case you don't get it, you don't have to go any further than that. But if you want to, and they kind of hint at it on that Netflix movie, if you want to, you can go beyond, but you don't need to. Everybody, once they get the third degree, they're already even Steven. But if you want to get some other degrees, then there's something called the ineffable, INEFFABLA. Ineffable degrees are the spiritual qualities of who you're praying to. Who you're praying to, who brings you to this level of, anyway, of getting these degrees. And that's from degree 4 to, I think is degree 17. From 4 to 17, you learn all these other qualities, all these other attributes. And then after that, you keep going, and eventually you realize you are now like an adept within the system of Freemasonry, building the man, building you. And then you get higher, and eventually you get to the 33rd degree. And the 33rd degree, when after you get to 32, now 32 is just another side of you. 30, 31, and 32 is another side of you becoming a master mason. Okay, like becoming to the level of being like grandmaster. Okay, and then when you hit the 33rd degree, that's the Shriner. But what is the Shriner doing? The Shriner is protector of the shrine. A shrine is like a mausoleum. You've heard of that term, mausoleum. And that's you, the man inside the mausoleum, that has to awaken the inner man. So what man learns in these lodges are resting points and living points and learning points, is eventually you learn. Yes, I heard the 32 degree is where evil things take place. Well, what happens is those who come to that level, there are many who actually, right, because what happens is, what should happen in the 33rd degree, that's where the one becomes a Shriner. But see, what happens is they have to study other disciplines. Once they get past that third degree, they get in there, and from that point on, they're studying other disciplines. They're supposed to know what yoga is. They're supposed to know the different degrees of yoga, the different schools of yoga. They're supposed to know about astrology. They're supposed to know about numerology. They're supposed to know about palmistry, how to read the light and energy in your palms. They're supposed to know phrenology, how to read the shape of your skull and your forehead. They're supposed to know that the tree of life, who is the tree of life? You, the living tree of life. They're supposed to know that you're supposed to stand with your back against the tree. And what happens is, when you stand with your back against the tree, your right side, when you're standing with your back against the tree, is your power side. And your left side is your more gentler side. Okay, so what's there? Well, this is what, when you stand in there, well, you don't have to really get into it, because if you already work in the knowledge now, you already know. You see, because what happens when you get in the order, you take an oath at all of those levels, and an oath means you're not supposed to share any of this information. I never been in it. What has happened is, I remember doing readings back in New York City myself, and I don't know if you remember my friend Lloyd Strayhorn. And my friend Lloyd Strayhorn, he would be so good with the numerology that the Masonic guys would say, like, "How you get all of that? How you know that about me?" And I used to get that too. People I was like, "How you break me down like that? Know that I'm in." I just know my inner resources tell me, my angels tell me, you're in a fraternal order. And of course, you sport your ring. You're hiding your ring. You got 2 rings on. You're hiding one. You're hiding your marriage ring, but I see this other ring. The guy said, "Oh, what does this ring mean if you know so much?" I said, the G in the middle is God or geometry, meaning sacred geometry is what's around us. We have it on the inside of us. You have the compass and the square. The compass is so that you can draw a circle around your passions or your miscreated self. Keep yourself what in a circle within the circle so that your stuff ain't all over anybody else. And the squares, when you put your heels together and you stand on the square, which means you stand correct, you come correct, you stand upright. That's what that means. And the G is God or sacred geometry. You have to go into the sacred geometry of yourself. The triangles, the squares, the cubes, and so on, the tetrahedrons and the dodecahedrons. It keeps going and going, and you learn that the circle is actually the element of water, like the womb, and you just keep going and going and going and going and going and going. But what happens is, usually what happens when people become Shriners, not all of them, but some of them, because they understand these different kind of rituals that they can use to open themselves up, they wound up going up on the deep end. Sometimes they go into doing some dastardly deeds. I knew some guys that were, when I was in high school, they were in Masonic orders, but they were always doing some really dastardly stuff. They weren't even 32nd degree Masons yet. Guys and young guys in high school, already third degree Masons, already stepping into it. Then saw them later. They stepped so high that they were doing rituals, want to brag and shit. Well, you doing about the 9 moons and the 9 suns? I said, well, what's the difference about knowing the 9 moons and the 9 suns if you are not in accord with the 9 moons and the 9 suns within yourself? And then I would ask them, do you understand what the Kundalini is? Do you understand how the serpentine energy ignites? I said, do you know there's actually maybe 12 moons and 12 suns? Yeah, I used to play with them, go with the whole order, do the numerology and everything, and read their palms and read their face, the structure of their eyes. And they was, how you know all of that? Because I study, I read, and I do the most important thing. I pray and I meditate to get the right answer. So you gotta, it's all about self. But what happens, usually the Shriner is one who's guarding the shrine. The shrine is guarding you so that one day you awaken, which really means is the Kundalini went and opened up your pineal gland, your heart chakra, all in order, opened you up and reached the top. And the explosion, the 10,000 things, the Taoism is the 10,000 things of your life. You know, you see Buddha sitting there with all these petals coming out of the top of his head, coming down, right? All of these levels of petals coming down. His crown chakra is open. He's got his eyes closed. He's got a little spot there. His third eye is opened up, and he sees through his third eye. He can see you for who you are and what you are through your third eye. But Buddha, you know, which is Siddhartha Gautama, that's the first Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama. He's born as a prince. His dad, mom was already a sultan. He was a sultan. His dad, I'll say his dad was a sultan, but the prophets around his father and mother said, hey, you will become, your son will be either like you, a sultan, or he'll become a spiritual person. And eventually he did. He sat under the bodhisattva tree forever, going into himself, and finally he saw it all and became all. He became enlightened, meaning inwardly meant MENT, mind and light. Light turned on the inside of him, and he became an enlightened being or soul on earth. It's called phrenology. Let me spell it. Oh, this is how it's spelled. Phrenology. If you go in some Asian countries like Japan and China, They really study that a lot, the shape of the skull. I remember when I was in, I'll give this out, when I was in the Moorish Science Temple of America, and I asked one of the brothers, how do you know the difference between a bay and an eel? Yeah. How you know the difference between a BEY at the end of someone's name and an EL at the end of someone's name? And the elder brother, who was a Bay, he told me we'd take certain fingers and place them on your forehead. If your forehead had a popped up at the hairline, rounded. Usually bays have a wide forehead, and up here, the hairline, the head pops up. But eels or eels have an indentation, it goes down. And most eels have what they have here is most eels have a natural widow's peak. That means the center of the hairline comes down into a peak, and their short head is their forehead in the front down here is scrunched down. That's like an EL. And those are ones that are like spiritual governors. I mean, they're into the psychic and spiritual. So I wanted to bring mine all the way out. So I'd hang out with eels and bays with the physical governors. I said, well, I don't want to govern. I don't want to be a ruler. I'll hang out with the eels because I'm trying to get the spiritual side out there. Yeah. El or eel means you're a spiritual governor. It means you're supposed to study the spiritual sciences. You're supposed to be into the metaphysical sciences, study astrology, numerology, handwriting analysis. Those are what they call the mantic arts, mantic, mantic arts, study of the mind and how it all works in line with the universe. And I remember when back in the day when I was in the temple, 1977 and 1988, I left the Moorish Science Temple because the members at certain temples didn't like the fact that I was in this stuff neck deep, until one of the elder mothers used to say, hey, I used to wear a beard back in the day. So the quiet brother in the back, he knows. And the elder brothers would be mad at me. There were some in the temple that were like 5%ers. I said, you can't do both. You can't be a 5% and being here at the same time. You're better off staying out there outside the temple because you're free to study other things. So people used to only study the prophet's work. I said, well, the prophet, all it means is one whose third eye is open. That's why the Ali is underneath. He's the son of Allah, son of his third eye. He's open. And then they always say, wow, where'd you getting all this stuff from? Pray and meditate every day for myself and get rid of my ego. That's how I know. And because I know the numbers. If the prophet was teaching how to use oils, mineral oils, and herbs, he must have known something else, right? He must have known that other people can get prophetic too, have a gift. He wasn't perfect. He had his own inner demons going on. He was out there, have more than one woman that he was dealing with. But his third eye was still open, never closed. We all have the ability to have a prophetic eye, to see with the third eye. But you can see with the other eyes. Your heart chakra can cause you to see. Your solar plexus can cause you to see. Your navel, your sacral chakra can cause you to see. Your root chakra can cause you to see. The base of your skull, you can see your own Akashic records. The crown of the crown, you can see it all. And then you just keep going, see everything. If you're standing inside the living tree of life, the living tree of life is you. The central cord, the spine, is you. That crown at the top, that's the Ein Sof, and Ein Sofer, the limitless light. Your crown chakra, once it's open, it's limitless. It's infinite. You begin to capture the light coming down inside you. Limitless. That means boundless light, infinite light. Huh? The planet for that, though, is Uranus or Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius. Humanity, the brotherhood, and the sister. Not just the brotherhood, but the sisterhood too. Metatron, who was once Enoch, but he became Metatron. He became an angel of wisdom and light and math and science of the sacred geometry. And then you standing on this side, and your right shoulder comes underneath. When you walk into that tree, your right shoulder becomes the third house, Bina, or Bina, Binah. That's divine mother right here. She's Saturn. And over here on the left pillar is what? The divine father, meaning wisdom. Divine father, divine mother, wisdom and understanding on your shoulders. Your elbows, it is your elbows. If I can get this right now, I don't want to mess this up. But see, this is divine wisdom up here. This one should be Chakma. Chakma is divine wisdom. And then you'll see that sphere in the middle is your elbow. That's carrying something. And I think that one is called Chesed. And Chesed is mercy. And then your left palm is called Netzach or Netzach, and that's Venus. So you've got Neptune up here, which is divine father, and your elbow becomes Jupiter, Jupiter, and their Chesed, this mercy. And Jupiter, if you know what Jupiter gives you expansion, and then you get into the nature of life itself. The nature of life is your body or the fine arts, music, dance, choreography, film, photography, all of them good stuff. That's in your left hand. Okay. Over on the other side, your right elbow becomes Mars or Gabura. I think that's what it is. And that's Mars, the seat of Mars. And what does Mars do? Mars makes you the fighter, the martial artist, right? You fight and you defend or attack. And then your left hand is Hod or Hod, Hod. And that's Mercury. That's where the sciences are. So, yeah, you can have the feeling, Venus, but you need what? Mars. And Mars is the opposite of Venus, right? And so you need how what? To have the power to do things. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. And in palmistry, Jupiter is the finger of authority. This finger, this is the Jupiter finger. This is the Jupiter's or Jupiter's expansion. Jupiter rules Sag. People born in the sign of Sagittarius who have Jupiter, they can be pretty good at the games of chance, as they call it. They can go to casinos and hit better, or be around money that comes and goes, but they have it. There's in the tarot, that's the wheel of fortune. That's the card, the 10th card that represents blessings. Yes, yeah, is Jupiter blessings? Yeah, because the blessings is to be blessed. You understand the cycles of life and where they come in at. So you ride the cycles of life to catch the overflow, then you shall be blessed. But also pay attention to get the jackal out the way, get the ego out the way, get the ego out of your life and let the serpentine energy come on through. So there's a lot that's there. And then you have after the crown, which is Uranus, right here, you have this hidden house. The hidden sphere is called Doth, Daath. And what is Doth? Doth is the power to speak that what's hidden into materialization. It's the hidden doorway, the throat chakra. Then you have Tiferath. Tiferath is sphere number 6. So what happens is you have 1, 2, divine father is 2, divine mother is 3. Okay. And then you gotta, but you'll see the numbers riding down, 4 and 5. So 4 will show up in the left elbow, 5 will show up in the right. But before you can go down to 7 and 8, 7 being Netzach in your left hand and 8 being in your right palm, your right hand, you got to have Tiferath. Tiferath is the sun, the place of beauty. That's the heart chakra or the Christ itself. Okay, and then you step down past the heart and step into Yesod, or Yesod, I pronounce it. And Yesod is the place of the moon. And the moon is what? Creation. Your procreative organs are down there in the second chakra going into the genitalia. And then the base, and that also takes in the tailbone. All right, all of that together. And then that's 9, okay, and 10 is Malkuth. Malkuth is split up into four, and you see the four colors and all. The special qualities of Aquarius, which is up here, which we're like getting ready to flow into the age of Aquarius fully. Aquarius gives that special relationship between friends. Aquarius is like the maverick. Aquarians are like ahead of their time. Aquarians are always thinking ahead. So they understand the power of the mind. Aquarius is a fixed air sign, so it understands the quality of how the mind processing energy and information. That's what Aquarius is doing, processing information. It's ahead of its time. But if you look at it in the tarot, the card for that is the 17th major arcana card. And the 17th major arcana card is Aquarius. It is, in all likelihood, they show a woman who's bare breasted, and her whole body is nude. One foot is on the water, and the other foot or knee is on the land. Okay, and the water is what? Emotional energy. How's a baby born? Baby's born in the water of the mother. But she's rooted to the earth. One knee, she has her support of the earth, the body. But the earth is a play on words. She has support coming from the heart, where the inner understanding is in the heart. So she comes off the understanding of the heart. But she has two urns, two vessels. She's a vessel within herself and the vessel of the partner in her life. And what happens? One vessel has water. She can scoop that into the water to gain wisdom. And the other water she's pouring back onto the earth. One water she pours back into water because you got to give back from which you take from. And the other water you can pour onto the earth. Two vessels that she has. You pour the other one back to what? Replenish the earth too. Pour, give, where you take something back, you got to give something back too. It's the same when people say, hey, you need to give back to your community. You were born out of your community, give back to your community. But your community is just not your neighborhood. Your community is the entire earth, all over the world. It's your community. That's why people move and shift around. Pour some of that back to replenish the place from which you came. But give back unto spirit, which you came. You're part of spirit too. And then above the head is an 8-pointed, they call it the 8-pointed star of Venus. Not the 6-pointed star, the 8-pointed star. The 8-pointed star is peace and harmony, or peace and love. Harmonic peace and love, which is unconditional love. So the woman is the creation and the creator, or the creatrix, as people will say, or the matrix, who can give you peace and harmony, or harmonic peace and love, unconditional love. Love without condition, love without strings attached. That's what the card Aquarius, and it has all these other stars around it, or starlets. So we have a power to give and take. We've heard our mothers say before, I brought you in the world and I can take you out of this world. Dad said, well, I brought you in the world to take out, but mom is the one who's carrying the child for 9 months or 6 months, which is the premature, but still carrying the child. Mom can teach the child from not even seeing the child yet. Mom could be just reading things. The child is still getting the nourishment from mother through the umbilical cord, from its belly button to the mother. It's still getting nourishment from the mother 2 different ways, through the ethers, receiving, preparing. And the child can recognize if father is the right father for it. It can recognize by the tone of your voice, whether you there or not, whether you are there for them, for the mother and for the child. Are you there? Or are you going to be distant? It can tell. When it come out, it's either loving you too or just looking at you like, you ain't it. Mother is mother and father for me. She had to carry me for 9 months. You just planted the seed, but she had to carry me. And this is why in some cases when the child is born, looks more like the mother and has more or has the mother's qualities at times. Sometimes we used to say, okay, the boy looks like the mother, but it might have some of the qualities of the father. This is why you hear the phrases "daddy's little girl." Why? Because the daughter looks like dad. It may have some of dad's qualities, but may have some of mom's qualities too. Children usually carry both. And the one they have the closer connection to is the one they look more of. And at certain points, like if I saw older pictures of my father, I could see shades of my father over my face. But I have eyes like my mother and spirit like my mother. So there's so many different ways and things that we can see that we can connect. You can yeah, you can join Messiah. I have a spiritual daughter in Virginia, and she says, "Daddy." When I first met her through her auntie, she said, Can you will you be my spiritual father?" And I said, "Yes, I will." And I eventually met up with her 4 years later down in Hampton, Virginia. She came and I met up and I had got to see her in person. Never saw her before, but got to see her in person, but talked for years on the phone, helping her. I said, "Let me see your hands." I said, "I knew it. You are a healer. You're a naturally, not only can you pray, heal through your prayers, but you got a prophetic eye. And you look at her eyes, you can see she has that certain look in her eyes. She sees things and she understands things. And she's got the psychic hand, healer's hand. But here's another thing I spotted with my spiritual daughter. Not only did she have that, but she had this intensity that she wanted to be an Eastern Star. She wanted to be a part of the Eastern Star. And I keep telling her, you're born with this information. You don't need to go in there and take. I said, if you do, once you take that oath, you can't be sharing it all over the world. You can't even share it with me. "Daddy, I'll share it with you." I said, "Well, no, you're not supposed to share it with me, but I'll tell you this. It's really not for you because the group of people, not all of them, just some of them, the Masonic order that was there, I says that particular order that's connected to that particular Eastern Star group, they do some things they have no business doing with each other, but they do them. But they don't even really need to be in the order to do what they're doing. But they'll be, shacking and carrying on. But you're gonna see it. And I told her, you're going to feel disconnected. You're gonna feel like, why am I in here paying dues to this? I said, but you need to see that. You need to understand that that particular group, just that particular group, not all of them, that particular two groups of Eastern Stars and Masonic orders, they're not into anything and they don't get the respect that they're supposed to get from the others up and down the eastern border or within the state itself. They're not going to get the respect that they need because a lot of them are just going to let them continue to do what they do. They're not going to have their charter taken from them. Why? Because they're all doing the same thing. I said, but I can already tell you that, but you'll have to see that for yourself. And eventually, after 2 years, she finally put in her resignation papers. She wanted to start another one, start her own. I said, you're not going to want to do that either, because once you start it, you become the parent. You become the mother and the father of that group. You got to be able to take care of them and do a lot. And she found out eventually it was just too much for her. Uh, I wasn't trying to get her not to love it. I just wanted her to understand that sometimes some of these orders are not always doing what they're supposed to do. I said, okay, they're here doing all of this crazy stuff. If these orders are all connected. All these orders connected all over the United States and around the world. So eventually, if your particular order or lodge is not at its highest height like it's supposed to be, it won't be respected by from other orders coming in. They just look at you like, oh, these are a bunch of people. All they do is wife swapping and girlfriend and swapping and man swapping and playing games with each other and blah, 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 and hating. Meanwhile, they're not getting no recognition. They can't do anything. They can't even do anything in the community that they're in because they're not even being respected because everybody knows what that particular lodge does. Now she's coming into her own spiritually. As a spiritual father, I had to tell her, I said, it'd be good for you to study Reiki. So that she didn't have to buy the book. I bought, I think, 2 books for her. And I gave her a book. Yeah, see, and this goes for the temple too. This goes for the temple too. I went through somewhere. I saw some things going on in the temple, and then somebody said, "Well, you got to get back your title Bay." I said, "No, I don't, and I'm not going to give it back." Why are you not going to do turn in your card and she's wearing your turban of fez? Because I'm not the one with the issue. There's a lot of issues going on here. And so I'm going to move on. And then when I moved into another temple, there's a group of people, street gang members, running that one. And the people guy that was running that one, he was snorting cocaine. I used to see him sitting up in the temple sweating. And why is he sweating? And I can understand maybe it's hot in the temple, but they got air conditioning running there. Why is he sweating? And it's cold as heck in there. I could see him in the wintertime sweat. But then one of the guys who was the mufti said they all drove a taxi, what they call a minute man, and he walked up on him, and the guys were in the car uh, getting high, snorting some cocaine. I said, "Well, that's my confirmation. I can move on." But I prayed for them, and eventually, the one that was the wanted to be the head of the temple, he eventually, sought me out a couple of years later. I was working at a what they call a botanica on Long Island herb shop where he did readings, and he came out, and I, looked at him and said, "I don't hold nothing against you. I want to teach you how to meditate." And he came for a while, and I taught him, I guess, about 5 or 6 lessons of meditation. Made a CD audio for him that he could listen to later. And eventually he turned his life around. Not so much also by the meditation and the prayers and the things that I was giving him to do, but he took himself seriously and decided he needed to make a change. And now he's been in the Moorish temple over 30 years now. He had gotten along the way separated from his wife, separated. His wife was doing some things that weren't cool either, but they finally got divorced, and eventually he turned his life around. He just got married, I think, just over a year ago, met a wonderful person that matches his spirit, his temperament, and they're doing great, having a wonderful life together. And he's still in the temple, but his whole life is different now, completely different aspect. Yeah. I just say to myself, it's cold in here. Why is he sweating? I ain't sweating like that. And I would get up around him and realize there's something off with him. And he didn't realize, but I could take my palm and I could point it toward him. And I would pick up the energy through my palm. I said, "Yep." Because by that time I knew how to work with the pendulum and my body was rocking. I said, "Yeah, my body's rocking back. He's not doing what he's supposed to be doing." And my body would rock forward. I said, "He's doing something that's detrimental to his system, and eventually it'll either kill him or make him crazy, or interrupt his system." And eventually, he got and turned his life around for the better. So when you come into your title and stuff, back in the day when the prophet said, "Turn in your cease wearing your turban of fez and take off your button on turning your card and go back from the wilderness in which I came." Well, I also found out that the prophet Noble Drew Ali wasn't doing some things good either. He had a wife. His wife was in the temple. He had a woman outside the temple. Right, that kind of broke me a little bit. I said, "Well, okay." That's not what I was expecting. But he brought some good things. I know a lot of brothers and sisters still in the temple. They officers, they high up there. My brother, he still stayed with the temple. He's pretty high in the order of the temple. I had to move on. I had enough. Already knew with the numerology, and it's kind of ahead of. Wasn't the only one, but I was ahead of my time. My brother, he knows about numerology and palmistry and tarot also. But he wants to be in a temple. I didn't need to be. I needed to walk away and take my sanity with me. And I became a better person. Now Moors from all over the country call me up, want to get a reading. "Brother, can you teach me meditation? Can you teach me tarot?" I said, "Yeah, if you're ready for it." I don't teach everybody that's in the temple because you got to be wanting to really get this. And you got to pay me for my time, and then I'll show you. I'll teach you. We'll set up something. Take some teleseminars with some other people, and you get this information that you need. So, now I know that there's a lot of people, because it's a different era of time. And a lot of people in the temple, they learn in Reiki, they learn in yoga, they learn in Qigong. Now they're learning, see, because they just thought they had to do the prophet's teachings, but the teachings are right there. They tell you, study. It didn't mention the Elohim for nothing. But during that time of the 20s, the prophet, he couldn't say but so much. It was best to teach them about the herbology and stuff. But now people know you got to study all of these sciences. You got to study them all. Masonic orders, they study it all. Netflix, they're not going to tell you all of that on the Netflix channel. But you can look at them and tell them guys are studying other things. They're just not in there studying Masonic principles. This is why I always used to say with my elder friend, Mrs. Wicks, when she was a school teacher that knew my mother. She told me how my mother said I would start a movement or something on my own ministry based on her teachings, a spiritual ministry. And the thing is, she was an art teacher, Mrs. Wicks. And I used to tell her, I said, well, the principal is really not practicing the principles of education. And she said, what do you mean by that? I said, because if you look up the word principle, the PAL part, principle, that means that the principal, the AL is equivalent to like your EL. That person is supposed to understand the PLE of education, supposed to understand the meaning behind educating children, because education is a part of a Latin word that means the child already knows. And the teacher's just to bring out what the child already naturally knows. So that's the purpose of studying math and geography and art and dance and musical instruments. All these things are important because they're designed that if the student locks into any one of just one of them, the student locks into one of those disciplines, they will do what? They will remember, and they will begin to think for themselves and therefore know who they are. They will start to develop a desire to know. That's why now in schools, around certain schools around the country, they're bringing in meditation rather than detention. Give them meditation, because meditation will correct them. They will correct themselves. They will begin to do what? Question and then love themselves, and they'll open themselves up to be educated, which means to let the information from the inside rise up like a volcano and come to the outside. And a principal, see, a principle, you learned it in the temple at one point. Yeah. What's the use of learning these things if you can't share it? At some point, you got to be able to share it with somebody, or you're not doing it justice. In the temple, they would say, if love, truth, peace, and freedom are violated, then justice must take its course. Well, if you're not sharing out of truth, if you're not sharing out of love, truth, peace, and freedom. If you're not sharing out of unconditional love, the truth, love, truth, peace, peacefully sharing it to create what? Harmonic peace in your life and the lives of other, and do it freely, then justice must take its course. What happens? Balance, the double-edged sword, will come through and get you. Yeah. The principle of justice will come through you. Your own word will cut your head off. Then you will have no consciousness. And there are many people all over the world, teaching stuff. And so I'm not going to share it because it's a secret. You keep doing that. You keep not sharing certain things. At least share the basics. If you ain't going to share all of it, share the basics that will help somebody. What's that old phrase people used to say? You can You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Or you're supposed to don't just teach the person how to how to go fishing, but how to feed themselves after they fish and find what they need to find, how they can gain sustenance for themselves. The miscreations of the ego steps in. The ego, when the people saw we got a lower self and a higher self, it took me years to find out what the who the lower self is. We knew it's a part of ourselves. It's the miscreated self called the ego. That's the one that has you fearful. That's the part of yourself that has a fear, has doubt, has illusion, has no faith in yourself, doesn't want you to have it, will cause you to listen to other people, attract the people to yourself that had difficult times trying to be something. People used to ask me all the time, "Oh, what else do? You ain't got no house, you ain't got no car, you ain't got no this." I got me. And I'm beginning to understand the universe. Even in the tarot in the major arcana, 22 major arcana cards, one of those cards has two numbers. It's called the Fool. The Fool has two numbers. He's 0 and he's 22. And you know why? Because 0 is he's the womb. He's the child in the womb. The child in the womb is innocence. He hasn't been tainted by anything yet. In the traditional tarot, you'll see him on a cliff. He has a toga on that's black and has flowers on it, right? He's walking toward a cliff. It ain't nothing but a straight drop, huh? Walking toward a cliff. He has a staff with a knapsack on it, little sack on it. You look at it, the sack might be a bird's head, or just an eye, meaning he's got the wisdom in the little sack, the pineal gland, and his heart sits in a sack. Your heart's physical heart has a sack of its own that it sits in. You walking, he's walking with his head up in the air like he's whistling. And he has faith. He has a little white dog. And the white dog is warning him, "Hey man, you get into the ledge, you're gonna fall off if you're not paying attention." And read the books of Carlos Castaneda. One of the books, it says in there that you get to the edge, and I have to push you so that you can fly. You're either going to fall and die and end your life, or you're going to fly. Every mama bird and papa bird feeding the babies in the nest, at some point, them babies got to go. They have to fly. Why? They have an instinct. And what is their instinct? Their instinct is, first they're going to come out of the nest and they're going to get to the edge and they're going to fall. But mom and dad bird is there waiting for them to scoop them up so they don't die. And they keep scooping them up. But at some point, the mama bird is or the daddy bird is going to peck them. So you can do this because I ain't going to always be here. You can do this. Let me take you back to the top. A little bird's go, "Oh my God, you taking me way up here?" Yep, way up there. Or from this point, not so far up, but still up. So that when you do fly, you'll land on the ground, but you won't die. Yeah, Carlos Castaneda. He wrote a series of books. And all of them books and all them characters in the book were actually his teachers, the men and women, the Naguals as they call them. They were spiritual medicine men and medicine women that taught them about the life. One of the most profound books is, I think, the last one is called "A Fire Within." He finally wakes up. The teachers tell him, "You just like us. We had to give you some peyote because you needed to get high." But you find out in the end, you didn't need no peyote to get high. You could have just did this naturally and got high. Sometimes we need to do some things and get high. Sometimes you realize you don't need a substance to get high, to take you away from life, not to see the pain or to quiet the pain. You got enough heart that you'll come on out the other side and be all right. That's what happens when Daddy bird and the mama bird takes the bird out and put them where they can fly, where they don't hurt themselves. Eventually, them little wings, they start flying. Now they okay. Now they go. Now they teach them too. Pay attention. There's other birds bigger than you that'll gobble you up like vultures and condors. Watch yourself. Just fly, but be cognizant of where you are. We have to become like that. We have to be cognizant of where we are. Be aware of where we are. And remember where we are. Through our remembrance, we will one day rise and get it. And then you'll decide, okay, if I want a big old mansion, I'll go get it. If I don't want it, I don't have to have it. Why? Because I'm it. I am the mansion. I have chakras in me called mansions. The mansions are the chakras. The mansions are the chakras, the wheels of light within you. Those wheels of light will cause you to awaken. If you stay with it long enough, you will awaken and become one with all self. So I've talked enough today. Is either do a YouTube live or a Facebook live. YouTube was cool. I needed to come on after coming back and having a nice long breakfast with a friend and come here. I'm going to be using YouTube live a lot, and I'm going to be using Facebook live. Schedule to do a seminar out here. I was just with my friend who has the center where I'm supposed to be giving it at, but I also informed her that this will be the last one that I'm going to do there, because what's really going on is people around the world can't come this far. I have people that I mentor, students that were born here in the United States that are living in South Korea, so they might take the next one next year. But I don't know if they're going to come here. So rather than what I'm about to do, I'm in a nice apartment here, senior complex in my area. And I'm going to start doing some private classes, and I'm going to do some online seminars. I already do teleseminars. I already teach my teleseminars. My preliminary ones are $33. I didn't do one this month. I usually do one at the first Monday or Tuesday of the month, but I'm not doing one. And I didn't do one, I think, for September. I had to take a break. Been on this past 44 years. This is my 44th year as of July the 2nd. So, of this particular way of life and teaching and sharing. So, I'm going to set up some live teaching here. And I'm going to set it up for a fee. I have actually a second channel. I haven't used it yet, but that channel, when I do use it, that particular channel is the Circle of Divine Grace and Remembrance, I believe it's called. And I may use that one in which to, I don't have the two channels really tied. I think I have them tied together, but not directly. And I did that for reasons so that when I have this set up these live seminars, people will be able to come to YouTube channel and get a live teaching. Now, I'm pretty much teaching it now. I'm pretty much teaching you now, but we're going to go into some things. So, my first live seminar, the very first one I did here, was done on May the 12th of this year. That was close to the anniversary of my mother's transition, which was May the 13th of 1981, which was on a Wednesday night. But whenever I do something right around that time, it clicks within a week or less. There's a blessing. So people that made it out to the one on Saturday, May the 12th for 5 hours, they got a blessing. They got some channeled information that dropped down from the angel of grace, from my mother, Mother Grace, from her mother, maternal mother, my maternal grandmother, Grandma Charlotte, the angel of grace, from some of the ascended masters, also from Akhenaten, our galactic brother who came down here, who he came ascended. And so I taught a very I taught Akhenaten's amplified points of light meditation to everybody. They experienced, they had a high when they came out of it. We did it that afternoon. I taught some Tai Chi Kung exercises. So that one we didn't record. We didn't record it because actually it was like a test. This one here, I'm speaking to my friend because it was done at her center. This one here, she's hoping to have a Wi-Fi feed connected in her metaphysical location, and we're looking to put it on a live feed. If we do that, because this one that's coming up is Saturday Mountain Time from 10 a.m. Mountain Time to 5 p.m. Mountain Time. If it's East Coast, then that's going to be 12 p.m. at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, all the way up to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it's going to be almost 4 or 5 hours. So what's going to happen? You'll see us chowing down, having some lunch, or we go offline and come back on. So, but we're going to figure out how to do it. We might even have it so that people can log on from 12 noon up to about 2.5 hours of time. Then at that, they pay for that. That's one segment of time that they pay for. Now, people coming live, sitting in the room with me live, it's $260. But if I put it online like that, I'm not going to make it 260. I'll probably bust it in half so that, you can take it. We could set it up somehow so that you can get it at a pretty decent part one and then pop back in and take part two. If you take them together, we'll do it maybe a little differently. Maybe I'll make it like 130, but then if you only take a morning session or an evening session, I might make it, not half of that, but a little higher than that. Just want to let you know. So we're going to find a way to put this information out. I'm also going to find a way to record it. I'm looking to have a digital recorder that day on me. Now I had one last year, but I also recorded it in a different way. So I'm going to do my best to try to give us a recording, a digital audio recording for that day. I have to make sure I got tons of batteries so that when I do it, I shut it off in segments, you see. Now, that Saturday, which is Saturday, October the 20th, when I taught the one on May the 12th, there were 8 lessons. This one is only 5 lessons. The 5 lessons are meditation that connects you to your in life. The second lesson for that day will be the key to life is numerology. So I will talk about how to locate and understand what your personal year cycles are, what your calendar day birthdays that you were born on from the 1st through the 30th, what they mean, what some of the master numbers mean from double zeros, I think, to 99. I think I have that in there. Or I may not have it. I may mention what that is. And then, so you have some understanding of things. We'll talk about your birthday number. We'll talk about your destiny number. You need to know what that is, or life path number. You need to understand what other people don't use that I use, called the angle of destiny, is when those two come together, how to work them, what number represents that. So I'll talk about that. And then I'll talk about how the word, when you speak, the word, an affirmation or word or decree, how it creates your life. We'll talk about that. And I give you some examples in the study guide, but also in that study guide, I will give you not only examples, but you get to write your own affirmation and on your own decrees once you understand the principles behind it, the value and the energy behind your words. You'll understand that. And then the fourth one, we're going to talk about scanning and reading and sensing auras, and then how you can learn how to balance your aura and how to balance someone else's aura. And then the fifth class of the day will be the spirit of the pendulum. And people, they use a pendulum and they go like, well, I got a pendulum. How do I work? And their whole arm is moving all over the place. You got to try to control your body. I mean, I'm 66 and I get a little tremor too that comes through, but you got to control it. The best way to do that is put that elbow on the table and control it, or put it up against your body and rest your palm. Put your elbow point right in the center of your palm across your body and tug it in, and then do it that way, and have it at a certain angle, the gooseneck angle level, and then you'll be able to work the pendulum. But you're going to find out the spirit, who is the spirit behind the pendulum. I'm going to let people know. Now, I had taught pendulums in the others. I will have two of the charts that I had used in this particular one, so that you really get it grounded. And then people are going to do some other things depending on the number of people that are there. There's 40 seats wide open for people to get. So I can now, oh, that date will be Saturday, October. I got to give you the location. Let me not forget that. Saturday, October the 20th, 2018. It's 10 a.m. Mountain time to 5 p.m. Mountain time. Okay. The cost for the day is $260. $260. And if you email me, now if you know that you're gonna get out here, because it's open now. I had an early bird price fee from August the 1st all the way up to September the 22nd, and then on the 23rd it switched into this fee. So what you might want to be able to do, if you know that you want to come, you got to get here the day before, and you got to fly in. Probably the best way to do it. But if you're going to do it, you got to secure a room by Friday, a hotel spot by Friday, October the 19th. You got to secure a room. Let me put it here. If you want, and I'll do it, I'll send you a list. Okay, and let me get this out to you. You want to send me an email me at iam dot let me put it here. You want to email me at iam dot circle of grace with the number one at the end at gmail.com. Okay. Well, we're going to try to put it on the internet. See, only thing about about Albuquerque, New Mexico, sometimes the Wi-Fi connects strong and sometimes it doesn't. So she's trying to figure out how to put it into place so it'll be strong, so we can show, if I want, I could put it out there and say part one fee is this, uh, whether you take part one or part two separately, the fee will be a particular price. But if you want to take both, and we're going to have to log off for at least 30 minutes. Other people can have a lunch break, then we can log back in. Those who are out of state or in another part of the state can log back in, and bam, we bring it back on live. You see, so we have to figure out where and how. Now, to see, the thing is too, we got to do it so I can move around, because I have a board there that I'm going to be, working with, a whiteboard, and I got to be able to, or a paperboard. I think it's a whiteboard that I'm going to work with some colored markers. So we got to set this thing so that it's like right online. You can see it. Um, we are going to also, I will have to check my camera, because what I wanted the person to do, I believe I still have last year's on a disc, a sand disc, connected to my Samsung camcorder. If I can locate that, if I still have it, I'll figure out a nicer price. You won't be, last year was $250. So I'll set it up so that you do not have to pay no $250. You'll probably get the video. I can get the video footage to you, uh, record it onto maybe a flash drive, and I have to see, yeah, on this one here, I can get a flash drive and download it to a flash drive and make it easy for everybody to open it up, you see, and then I'll bubble wrap it and send it out by mail. I'll figure out the price I want to charge, and everybody can get the one that was done on May the 12th. But I have to make sure that these things are good. I don't want to yet do that, let you know, until I can make sure to see how the footage used, because the light, that we had at the time wasn't as bright as we wanted it. Even though we had sunlight coming in, we had overhead fluorescent light activity going on. Want to make sure that you get it. And me, when I teach, I'll let you know that it's very difficult for me to stay within the frame, because once the spirit hit me, I have to move around, energetically, physically, I have to move. So you email me. If you email me, I'll send you a list of hotels that are right on the same strip, because the street, the place that I'm going to be teaching at on that day is called Resonant Essentials. We're going to try to have some light refreshments that day too. It's located at 7413 Menal Boulevard. And see, I'm gonna, it's out here. It's been very difficult to get people to show up at these things, but Northeast, that'll be in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It'll be on the east side. I'm on the west, but North Valley side where I live. But I know for sure that what I'm going to be doing eventually is I'm going to be uh out of my apartment. I'm definitely going to be teaching some people privately. So the one in May, the study guide was 64 pages. That was really a lot. And I'm putting together a 27-page study guide. And what I might do is I'm selling the study guides too. So if you happen to want that study guide that I'm going to have, I have to locate it, because on my other computer broke down now, so I'm gonna have to. But I think I'm gonna look and see if I have the study guide on my external hard drive. But the second study guide for this one coming up October the 20th, I definitely do have it on my external hard drive, so I'll be able to put it together. And if you are unable to come, if you're only unable to come, if you would like to connect with me, where I could give you a live video stream and teach. That's why I gotta check my other YouTube channel. If I have that one set up too, where I can do like this, a live video, we could set something up where in the course of the daytime, like in the morning on a weekend, I'll set up something in particular with people who want to get it like a one-on-one. Now, the way I plan on doing the next ones next year, I'm not necessarily going to be in this women's center teaching live. I have a residence, I might as well use it, right? So I'm going to set up some things where we have not only a live video stream, but maybe one of the classes may also include a teleseminar that may go for like 90 minutes. And then, boom, we bounce into a live video stream. So I have a lot of different ways. Yeah, you can I want to set up so you can get a one-on-one, So there's a lot of people know that I do group teleseminars, but I can also, we can do this where you can call a teleseminar that number that I have. And, I'm on, when I do a group teleseminar and do it, it's on either the first Monday or the first Tuesday every month, but the month is open for me to use it at other times. So you can be on there with me live at teleseminar. What I would do is, we have it for, it may cost a little bit more, but it's not going to be a whole lot of money, because I want you to get the information. And then I would email out the study guide to you. I could do that, email out the study guide, and then you just print it out, and I'll have it, and I'm using it, and I can go back and forth between the two. And then, because if you take it as a teleseminar, the teleseminar allows you to get also a copy. So I'm gonna figure this stuff out because I need to put it together so people can get it. So it'd be like this. You can see me live this way as a part of your class, and then I can also do the teleseminar, and then you get that particular. No one else will get that teleseminar except for people who pay for it as a one-on-one. So you'll get the teleseminar copy, so you don't have to worry about recording yourself on a digital with me. You'll get the audio version, which will automatically come out as an MP3 file as a teleseminar. And then, of course, I'll figure out how to do the live video stream one-on-one. So we'll figure something out with a nice price that you can handle. Because if I let's say if I put it in the $100 level for you, $100, $200, 125, I am going to give you. You'll get the study guide, free, and wouldn't charge you that. You get that free, and you'll get at least you can take these courses because I'm breaking them down now where you can. I'll tell you the courses that I have a command over, and then what will happen is, as a one-on-one, you'll see what I teach, right? What I can teach, I teach in group formats, semi-private, which is small groups here at my apartment, and also what we can do one-on-one, and I can set it up. Spirit will tell me what to charge that's comfortable for people. But I want to make sure you get information. That's the important thing. So you email me, Unconquerable Presence. You email me. Thank you for joining me today and whoever else was on. You email me if you feel like you're going to make it out to the event. I'm going to show you the different ways in which you could pay me. You can pay me through PayPal and this new thing called Zelle, Zelle. I'll send you my special PayPal me link. I'll send you, tell you what my email that I use for Zelle or the one that I use for PayPal, and then we'll set it up that way. Now, if you know for sure, look, hey, just tell me, Brother Francis, I'd like to pay you that 260 so I could be in your presence, but I'm not going to be able to physically get there. Then for you, I'll work out a nice price for you to pay, and we'll work this thing out so that I could teach you these 5 lessons because I already got them on a hard drive. I'll put them into a folder for you and send it out to you by email. So you'll have the 27 pages with the information. And then we will link up time so that you can get all 5 of those. Because if I'm teaching it all day long like that, I'm gonna break it up so there's 5 individual lessons that you're gonna get this information on. Okay, and it'll be easier for you to comprehend and understand. Plus, when it's one-on-one, you can ask questions. I didn't have a big crowd at the location last year. I think I only had like 5 people that attended, but it was a nice sized crowd. I mean, I would have been great to have all 40 chairs filled in, but it didn't matter. Everybody got the information they were supposed to get with the information, and I like to make sure people get it. Okay, and then I'll allow you some free time questions to ask me. Not They don't have to be at that time. They can be at another time where you get one whole session with me for free. I also do spiritual mentoring. Spiritual mentoring fees are $225 for a session. I'd say he is. He was a master while he was here. as as Dr. Michael Beckwith would say, one becomes a descended master. You already here before you leave. Bob Marley was pretty much someone that was in touch with spirit, very, very strong. Very, he really touched so many people. Michael Jackson, he's another one. He touched millions, billions of people worldwide. Michael Jackson had all kind of ideas for children's schools, free education. He had a lot of stuff going on. If he had been around a little longer, he would have pulled it off. So there are a lot of masters. There are a lot of masters. Tupac, look, Tupac and Biggie, they left too soon. And Tupac He went to a he was in a school that was equivalent to a acting and drama and art school. I don't know if it was in Baltimore where he was, or was it in Philadelphia, but he was a student of the arts. He just wasn't somebody that's out that had the gift. He had the gift to rap in the street, but he had the gift that he was trained to do acting in things. And then being because of who his mother was, and the conditions in which he chose to be born under, because he chose those conditions to be born under, which means he chose to have a short life. And then he started learning. He started waking up very quickly toward the end of his life. I would say that if he's not an ascended master, he's doing he had no fear of living, that's for sure. He had no fear of living, and neither did Biggie. Biggie had no fear of living either. These two guys passing the scene within 2 years of each other at a very young age in their mid 20s. That's somebody that came here with something to do. And when they leave here, they left a mark on people when they left. Only thing is we never see people celebrating Tupac and celebrating Biggie. But why not? It took me when I first heard Tupac, I didn't understand what he was really into. I knew that he was a part of him was angry. Then when I got to see some clips, and then I started to meditate just before he passed, I started to really meditate on him. I said, he actually knew what he came here to do, and he did it. And then he left. Biggie came in here knowing what to do. Then he left. And all these people that were involved in making this stuff go back and forth so look like they're against each other. They really weren't. But they allowed them to be against each other, which was the sad part. But yet they both were impacting the world. They impacted the communities that they were in. And I'm 66. I'll still watch that movie over and over, the Notorious B.I.G. I watch it over and over. I see something different every time of how that was placed together and how Angela Bassett played his mother, and then the things that they put together. I said, it's very potent. Them guys were some very powerful young prophets of their time. And they had no fear about living life. Had no fear. I had fear. These guys had none. I was their age. I had fear. They had no fear. But the society played them against each other. That was the sad part. Society played them against each other. But somehow, in the end, they came out all right. Look at what's his name? Charles Brodus. Is that his name? His real name? Thin guy, Snoop Dogg, who became Snoop Lion, turned himself around, living down there in Las Vegas, turned his whole life around. They had no fear of living their life as to what it was. They were not afraid to just be who they're supposed to be. Tupac, Biggie, they were really transparent, living their life transparently. You can really see them. Took me a while to understand it and see that they were living their life transparent. It was out. He was shown. I think there's an album. And I wasn't a Tupac follower nor a Biggie follower at the time, but I think there's an album that Tupac made where he kind of prophetically stated that he's getting ready to get out of here. He knew it. He knew his time was coming. And I think some of the tunes, whatever he was writing about, he knew that his time, he was like Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King knew. Martin Luther King, the strike of midnight, that speech that he gave, he knew when he had that dream. That's why he said, I may not get there with you, but I may not get there with you. So he already knew that within the next couple of days, King knew that he was out of here. Tupac knew that he was going to be out of here. Biggie knew that he was going to be out of here. Very early age, they left. Knew that they came to do what they came to do. They moved on and then gone. And sometimes great teachers know that they're about to do something. Great teachers know that they're about to do something and then they're gone. But see, when they do it, it's like their life is either rocky, but they're okay with it, or is at a state of peace, but they feel a little anxiety that they know that they're going to be moving on into the ethers. Same with Michael Jackson, same with Prince. Interesting. Michael Jackson and Prince are twice their age right before they left. Twice those guys' ages. Certain time, similarities, and then gone. Well, they say the character Jesus didn't really exist. Sometimes when I think about who Jesus is really a play off of the Kemetic people, the ancient Egyptians. Yeah, yeah, well, in the title given to one called Jesus, Jesus meaning like in a sense like a justice. Sananda means the seat of the Christ. So as Jesus kind of went over and became releasing that vibration, the one who's called Sananda, the seed of the Christ. The Christ means anointed. But I have a book called The Aquarian Gospel of Jesus the Christ, not Jesus Christ, Jesus the Christ. And that's a channeled book of the 18 missing years. There's a lot of people know that there's 18 years. What happened when this guy was supposed to be talking about this young boy named Jesus at age 12, going up to age 30? Where was he during that time? When I was taking Sunday school classes, I asked that one time. I says, "You mean to tell me that him and Moses were always just walking around and they never saw nothing past where they were? That can't be." Then I got thrown out of Sunday school. I said, "Okay." And then my mother said, "You can't talk all of that right now because people are not going to understand. And you're getting it from some other place. You know you already." Sometimes some people don't want to be awakened. So I said, "Well, what do I do with all this information?" Just keep it here. There'll come a time when you can start releasing and understanding. So there are a lot of things. Yeah. A lot of us that get awakened at an early age get the boot out of Sunday school. We all get thrown out. The book by Eliphas Levi called The Aquarian Gospel of Jesus the Christ. The Christ meaning the anointed one. So they ain't talking about the same one. But see, all of our souls are in different parallel universes living different qualities of the same life. So sometimes when you're having a communication with the divine source, that source could be yourself in another lane, another parallel universe, another life stream. And that's part of you that keeps having a communication with you. Like you want to look around and say, where's that voice? Where's that thought coming from? Just another side of yourself. So I'm going to get out of here. Thank you, uncomparable presence. I feel like I already know who you are. Doesn't matter, though, whether I know you or not. But I just want you to just realize your presence, stay within the realm of who you are. As what was that thought I was getting ready to say? Um, yeah, you're welcome. Akhenaten. Yeah, that's what I want to say. Akhenaten. He was a heavyweight dude, and the Moon priesthood didn't like him nor Nefertiti for releasing some things. So I'm writing a book. It's a very short book, and it's called. I don't want to give the title because I don't want anybody else to run with the title yet before I get it out there. But it's information that was channeled to me from Akhenaten. He's one of my strongest guides these days for the past 4 or 5 years or so. But he has given me a lot of information. I say the past 8 or 9 years, give me some strong input about his teachings. And he taught him and Nefertiti taught a lot of people. And so everybody has all the parts that come through them, the parts of the pie, puzzle pieces, and they all fit together. We know they all fit because they have similarities. There's some people that are writing things with the technical Kemetic language, Egyptian language. Mine doesn't involve that. Mine's just straightforward description as to what it is and the experience. But it's a channeled book. I think it'll be my shortest book. I'm writing 3 different books right now. I don't think this book is going to get past 80 pages when it's done. Be a real short book, but Akhenaten speaks poignantly and directly and poetically, and I'm channeling him into this document as one of his teachers from long ago, but getting it now and releasing it. So I don't want to say too much. Let me get on out of here. I've been on here for 2 hours, almost 2 hours, 2:26. It was 33, 37, 38 minutes. We're going toward 2 hours and 27 minutes. Still 227 as to an 11 master number. Thank you for joining me. Thank the other people for watching. The other two or three people that were here. Thank you for interacting with me. Yeah, I'm gonna take a walk, take a nap. It's Tuesday. Peace be with you all. So maybe it's time for me to have some lunch. You ever see the commercial of the guy that comes on and it's what's his name? Boy George, he's all dressed up. Elton John, rather. The guys are rapping, and Elton John is like there. And then the guy says, "Hey, you need a Snickers," and then he eats the Snickers, and he's all right. That's me right now. So I need to calm down and go have me some late lunch and get a little nap in between and get to my work and make a few calls. But email me at iam.circleofgrace1@gmail.com. And if you like a private lesson, I'll figure out what that lesson price will be. If you can't make it to this event, I'll make it so that it's equitable for you to and a nice price range, and you can pay per lesson. There's 5 lessons. I'll give you more of a discount when I figure out what Spirit wants me to charge people and how we're going to come about doing this. All right, Eel, this is Bay signing off as Mother Grace, Grandma Charlotte, the Angel of Grace, uh, Akhenaten, and myself say, our grace is your grace. And I always say, until next time, remember that divine grace is a blessing. As we are alive and well in the age of remembrance, I'll probably do another Facebook Live either tomorrow or I'll be on Facebook. Look me up on Facebook as Brother Francis Revels-Bey or Circle of Grace 1 on Facebook, and we can connect that way. Woo! I'm out of here. Take care. Thank you. Whoever else watched, thank you. Bye now. Peace, love, and happiness.